Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarian. This is a show where we run down everything that happened in technology, all the cool things that happen in technology, all the things we want to talk about that happen in technology. With me, as always, is the quintessential stud muffin, John Bubb. How you doing, John?
Quintessential?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
You can follow John on Twitter at Suncast. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. Of course, the GFQ Network is at GFQ Network on Twitter. A lot happened this week. Yesterday, I was on the air, John, for 7.5 hours.
Well, you did have that one break in there.
Which break is that?
Between the Apple announcement and the rest of the shows.
So about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
40 minutes.
I had a 30-minute break. I was on the air.
You had a lunch break.
I did, and I didn't have anything to eat. You know, yesterday I went to Press 195 and here in Bayside, and these guys are so phenomenal. They saw my tweet that I was on the air for like 25 hours, so they actually comped me my meal and my drinks.
Oh, nice.
So I want to give them a big shout out. I like
that place.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal place. So good, great people too. So big fans of the show. So we're big fans of them. Yesterday, I was on the air for hours. We had to do all the shows, but also something big happened. Apple had an announcement. So when Apple has an announcement, the entire tech world stops and we listen and we ooh and we ah, and the crowd starts speaking in tongues and they're putting their hands up and they're taking, MacBooks and laying it on your forehead and people are falling on the floor. It's a whole thing. That entire crowd, I mean, they were popping for everything. Something's got announced. Nothing surprising. No big surprises. We missed. We didn't get a revamp to the MacBook line, MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air line. We didn't get that. We didn't get the Apple TV that a lot of people wanted. Instead, what we did get was an iPad Air 2, I'm sorry, because I keep calling it the iPad 2 Air. iPad Air 2, it's 18% thinner, so it's not a tremendous thinness, but it's 6.1 millimeters. This thing is super, super thin, so it's actually thinner than a pencil. And they showed that, where they cut the top of that. No air gap in display, just like MS Surface. What is an air gap?
I'm not sure. It was just in my notes.
I'm just going through the notes. It's running the A8X processor.
You don't have to read all of the notes.
No, I'm just going to go through it. The important stuff. So you're getting about 10 hours of battery life. M8 motion coprocessor. It's going to have an iSight 8-megapixel camera in the back.
It has the new 88X processor, which is the same one that is in the iPhone 6.
Just
and
modified.
6 Plus.
Yeah, I think it's a little it's overclocked, right?
I don't know about.
It's a little tweaked. It does 1080p video. It also has a new front-facing FaceTime camera. No information on the megapixels on that. They were very careful not to say how many megapixels that camera is, because if you ask me, it's not going to be much.
They're not really doing much with the cameras in their devices lately. We didn't really have an update with the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, and we're not really having much of an update in the iPad Air and Mini.
Yeah, 802.11 AC, MIMO, Wi-Fi, 20 LTE bands, Touch ID. That was the thing. It has Touch ID. And it's going to come in silver, space gray, and gold. Pricing beginning at $499, $599, and $699. 16 gig, $499. 64 gig, $599. And 128 gig is $699. You add $130 for the LTE version of all these model. You could order now. It's shipping next week. Now, a couple issues here. One, a 16 gig iPad Air 2, in my opinion, and I have a 16 gig iPad Air, is absolutely useless. I'm telling you, and I'm gonna tell you why.
They're doing with the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, because you remember when they announced the models and the storage capacities for the models for the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, That's the same exact capacity: 16 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, or 128 gigabytes.
It's
They
absolutely
no longer
useless.
offer their newest devices with 32 gigabyte models.
No, because they know it's absolutely useless, and people are going to shell out the extra $100 to get the 64 gig. That's just how it's going to work. And let me just before I get yelled at saying like, what do you mean it's useless? There are people that don't play games. I have a 16 gig iPad Air. I've always said 16 gigs is more than enough for this. I don't store any music on these iPads. I don't do photos, obviously, on this iPad. All I do is apps. The app sizes have bloated up tremendously. The OS, first of all, takes up a bunch of space. So let's add that in. I can't remember exactly what the storage is on the OS, but it's taken a chunk of this. If I were to download one game, let's say I'm a soccer fan, I download FIFA 2015. This game is between, I'm guessing a number because I can't remember off the top of my head. It's up to 2 gigs. Some games,
Yeah,
I mean,
some of those games are a couple gigs.
And
the OS itself can be as large as 8 gigabytes. So the OS itself is using at least half the capacity of the iPad.
A 32 gig version of this would really go a long way. I mean, you would be able to survive on that. But when most people, and this is the problem that Apple has right now, most people cannot upgrade. Do you remember when you were talking about the upgrading issue? And during the announcement, they said only, X percentage of people have upgraded to 8.1 or 8.0, right? And you're like, wow, that's actually lower than previous year.
Mm-hmm.
I figured out why. Not because people don't want to upgrade it, because they can't, because they don't have the storage capacity left on their 16 gig iPhones to do the upgrade. And people don't want to go there, sit through and delete stuff. So they're like, hell with it. I'll just leave it the way it is until, I'll worry about it another time. That's a problem that a lot of people have. I had to pretty much wipe every single phone and every single iPad that I had to upgrade to OS 8, iOS 8. This is why people aren't upgrading. So now with a new iPad Air 2, to have 16 gigs, it's useless.
I wonder if they have numbers to back up why they've decided to go with 16 gigabytes as the base model and just completely eliminate 32 gigabytes.
Because people are, if it was 16, 32, 64, there's a good chance for that $100 you're not going to do it.
Why isn't it 32, 64, 128?
Because they don't want to give you the 32.
I think there's numbers there, though. I wouldn't be surprised if they have numbers that say that most people are fine with 16 gig.
I'm sure they are.
At this point, that 16 gigabytes, that they're still offering that as the base, and there's nothing in between 16 gigabytes and 64 gigabytes. That's just shocking to me, because I think there's a lot of people that would be perfectly fine with 32 gigabytes.
Yeah, but they don't want you to have the 32. That's the whole thing, because they know you will buy from a 16 gig. They probably have some math that says, listen, people are not going to upgrade to 32, but they will upgrade to 64. So let's keep it at 16 and have everybody upgrade to 64 gigs. That's why, because you're going to spend the extra $100.
If that's the case, I think that's just an absolute crime.
Yeah, I mean, it's awful. It really sucks that they're doing that, but this is how it works. They have some sort of number that backs up the fact that people are going to be more inclined to upgrade to 64 and not 32, and they do want you to upgrade. They don't care about the 16 gig model. They want people to go out and buy the 64 gig model. It's an extra $100 they're making for nothing. How much is it costing Apple to put in a 64 gig chip? It's virtually the same, pennies. So
yeah,
they're making an extra $100. Their cost margins are much better at that, and they know people are going to buy that. Listen, okay, I get it. I would rather want 64 than 32 anyway. So I'm in the boat that I would probably buy the 64. But it kind of sucks that there's still a 16 gig model. And the reason why the upgrade numbers are so low compared to last year is because most people can't upgrade. Eric in our chat room said his wife and 3 friends are in the same boat because they cannot upgrade. Because they have no storage to upgrade.
I mean, you can use iTunes to upgrade it, but that still is at this point.
Yeah, but John, who's doing that? Who's doing that? You know?
I did it.
Yeah, but you and me are different.
I didn't have to, but I didn't.
Yeah, but we're smart.
To me, it was just easier to download it on my computer and then hook it up.
But John, we know these things.
Over the air, it's just slow. I can do it so much faster by using iTunes.
I'm doing, by the way, talking about over the air. I'm doing an over the air update right now for my OnePlus. There is a Cyanogen update, and it has been updating for like 4 hours now. This thing, super long. I mean, it's crazy how long it's taken. So we got the iPad Air 2. We also got a new iPad Mini, an upgraded iPad Mini 3. Pricing starting at $399, $499, $599. $100 cheaper than the iPad Air. So 16 gig, 64 gig, 128 gig. The iPad Mini is still, the first generation iPad Mini is still for sale. $249 for that. The iPad Mini 2 is $299. The iPad Air is still on sale as well at $399. So listen, the iPad Air is a good bargain. I'm curious what the pricing will be. Are they going to only have a 16 gig model for the iPad Air? Or are they going to still sell the 64 gig and 128? That's what I'm curious about for the iPad Air. Because the iPad Air is a good deal.
Yeah, let's move on to something else, though, because this was something that I think pretty much everybody across the board was like, huh? When they were doing the replay presentation.
The replay presentation.
Because they brought out some people to do show off some new applications. One of them was this replay application. Which is really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Where you can just have these clips of videos and it'll automatically make a cool little video out of it with templates and stuff. It was really cool, but it was just very off-putting because they called it It's Road Trip.
Yeah, It's Road Trip. Yeah, It's Road Trip. But you know what else I found out? A lot of the clips that they were putting in that real-time thing, like the impressive thing that it was doing this, it was rendering in real time. Mm-hmm. The clips were maybe like a second or two long.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why they were able to kind of render this so quickly. So it's not as accurate as you would imagine.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, what real clips do on that, because all that stuff is, purposely selected just for something like that.
What was the other thing that they demoed? There was a replay, and there was the other thing that was so impressive. The way it was like a Photoshop competitor, but for 99% of people, this thing would be so awesome.
Pixelmator.
Pixelmeter or Mater?
Pixelmator.
Mater. This application.
It's an application that's existed on iOS for quite a while now, and it's very much a Photoshop competitor. It does a lot of the similar stuff that Photoshop does. It can do the content-aware stuff, which everybody loves. If you got something in your photo that you want to remove, like they had this nice picture of sand, I think it was a camel or something that was also in there, and they wanted to remove the camel, and so they just outlined the camel with this green stuff where they wanted it to be removed, and it just did it automagically, and it was amazing.
So this app, but it's not as complex as Photoshop, right? I mean, it's kind of simpler.
No, yeah, I mean, it's not a full Photoshop suite.
No,
but it'll have elements that you'll find it's Photoshop grade type of elements.
Like, are you able to kind of create imaging and do layering and stuff, or no? It's just a simpler.
I haven't used it personally, but I believe it does.
Oh wow! So I'm gonna download this. That was a fascinating part too, because they have their photo suite, right? They have Apple has iPhoto. But they have a new one coming out, and it kind of does photo editing inside of it. It's not that great, the photo editing, but it does it. So it was interesting to see them feature applications that kind of do what they do. I'm curious if this is their way of either they may buy these two companies and incorporate them in the in iMovie and in iPhoto, or they're kind of giving up on the fact that they had these suites like iMovie, because the other thing is a 100% an iMovie competitor.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see them do that. I don't know what did you take of that? Did you see it as them kind of profiling another company because they really like it, or
there's different levels of people that are going to be using these applications. I think there's just the average person that probably never buy these applications, never use them in that manner. But there's also people that want something a little bit more professional. And that's what these applications offer, as opposed to the stock editing applications on iOS.
Yeah. I mean, they look great. So I actually would definitely try them out. I may download that right now, Pixelmator, right after this. Let's talk about the iMac with Retina display. 27-inch iMac. It is a 5K Retina display. That means it is a 5120 by 2880 display. This is a very high-res display on this iMac.
Oh, totally.
67% more pixels than 4K. There's a reason for that. So it's not, people were saying, well, 5K, but what's in 5K? Well, it's not necessarily about that. It's about having the 4K and then having everything else around your screen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to, sorry.
It's only 5 millimeters thick, which is really amazing that it's so thin.
Very thin.
And the reason why the 5K is so important is because it offers you editing video pixel for pixel and editing photos.
Yeah,
so
it's 1-to-1.
Let's say you have 4K video and you're editing that in Final Cut Pro. Well, you can actually see that entire 4K video in Final Cut plus your timeline and whatever else elements do you want on the side or on the bottom to actually be able to see that in pixel per pixel ratio.
It's 1-to-1. So it's very important for a lot of editors. You're going to have an i7 model. You're going to have an i5 model. Top of the line. You know, very good components in this thing. Starting price is $24.99, so $2,500. You could also get a 21.5-inch and a standard 27-inch.
Yeah, they're basically just going to offer the non-Retina versions, basically.
Yeah, I think this is... I actually want to go to the Apple Store just to witness this display because I'm imagining it's going to be beautiful. This is going to be a beautiful, beautiful display.
You know, $2,500 is not bad for a 5K display.
You're getting a 5K display and a pretty good machine. So everybody was saying, wow, oh my God, it's so expensive. In reality, if you do the math, I mean, honestly, if you do the math for the display that you're getting, it's actually not that much.
It's expensive, but it's a mix because in a way, the people that would spend money on this are the people that already have a Mac Pro and want the display to go with it.
Yeah.
This is just weird that they did not offer a Retina cinema display.
That's going to come next.
A lot of people have been wanting for a long time, but this also, in a way, goes along with some of the stuff that I've heard where they don't necessarily have the technology necessarily to do this and in a separate display quite yet. I don't know if that's true or not, but it is one reason why we're not seeing this in a separate display yet.
Why? Because is it because it's relying on the hardware to push this out?
There's several reasons. There's power consumption. There's also the amount of technology that you need to actually get the light through the pixels, the LED light through the pixels, because it's a higher density. So I suppose they could do it. The question is, will they do it and when?
Well, let me just give this example. Okay, so they also announced a new Mac Mini, upgraded Mac Mini, 4th gen Intel Core processors, and they dropped the price by $100, which is phenomenal. $499. That is a great deal for this device. And I'm a big fan of the Mac Mini. I have no use for a Mac Mini, but it's actually a very nice little machine to have if you don't want to have a full tower here. What would my experience be if I bought let's say a 5K display? Let's say Apple sold a 5K display. I bought a 5K display, and I also have a Mac Mini, and I connected it to this thing. I probably will not have a great experience because the GPU is not great in this Mac Mini.
Oh, yeah. Well, you wouldn't want to do that because that's just not your target demographic. You're not going to want to use a display that fancy and not spend the money on the hardware to go with it. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
Why would you?
But I mean,
if you're spending more money on your monitor than you are your computer, well then.
But I mean,
something's wrong there.
The thing is, you're gonna have a lot of compatibility issues. You're gonna rely to get the great experience on this display. You're gonna have to have a beefy GPU to push out the
absolutely.
the display. I that's probably part of this where they don't have. If you're Apple, right? Like, you got to think about it like this. If you're Apple, your display has to work the same on every one of your devices on your lineup. And they probably don't have enough machines that will give you that experience all across the board that are that spec'd out. So until the lowest end machine can handle this.
The Mac Mini is never meant to be used with a monitor with that high of a resolution.
But you tell that to a customer that's walking into the Apple store.
But the average customer that's buying a Mac Mini is not going to do that.
John, I've heard some really dumb stuff coming from people. I've heard some really dumb stuff.
It's not made for those type of people.
Yeah.
If that's what you want, well, then what you need to get is the iMac. There's no reason why you would forego an iMac with the Retina display for a Mac Mini and want a separate monitor.
Yeah.
You're better off just going with the iMac with Retina display.
I think it's going to come down to them being able to mass produce this thing and then them coming up with a price point that makes a little sense, you know, because these displays are not cheap.
No.
Yeah. Google also had announcements this week. They had a big unveiling.
You don't want to run down the other announcements from Apple?
Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
Because they also talked about OS X Yosemite is available now, which you just installed.
I did. I installed it last night.
And one of the things with Yosemite and it being official now is all the continuity stuff. And iOS 8.1 is actually coming out on Monday to finish off all the continuity features with this, which will have the calling, the SMS messaging, and all the other goodies.
Which right now, if you got it, it's not going to work.
No, you got to wait for iOS 8.1 for that to finish out, which is what I was saying.
Yeah. Isn't that bizarre, though? That's a little weird, right?
So what are your impressions of Yosemite?
So I've been using Yosemite since the public preview that came out months ago.
And how was your upgrade experience from the beta?
So with the beta, the first couple betas were atrocious. I mean, I've run betas before from Apple. It was never this buggy. This was really buggy. I mean, a lot of issues, a ton of issues that I've never experienced before with an Apple beta. If I would compare this to running a beta of Vista, if anybody did that. Right now, even the Microsoft betas now that come out are pretty stable. You're not really going to have a lot of these issues. Like, I had the Finder would crash on me. So that's the equivalent of Windows Explorer. Just constantly would crash on me. I couldn't upload images or video or anything to Facebook from the Finder. I had to actually put it on my desktop and drag it over. The audio wasn't working. It was a whole laundry list of issues. So they pretty much fixed everything by the last two betas. So like I think beta 4 and beta 5, they ironed everything out. Beta 6 was the GM, so it was nearly the final version. It was a very simple upgrade. I just clicked on it, downloaded everything, and boom, nothing changed. I haven't formatted. This is the first time I'm running a new version of the operating system without formatting.
So you had a pretty easy experience upgrading from the beta to the actual operating system.
Very easy. Very, very easy experience.
Have you tried any of the continuity?
So give me an example. I maybe have, but give me an example of what I could try.
If you start some work, like a presentation or a document on your iPad, it'll automatically sync to your Mac.
No, I haven't done that yet. That's something I haven't done. I haven't done the continuity. I don't have an iPhone, so obviously some of these features, like making phone calls and stuff, it's not going to relate to me.
But you do have an iPad.
I do have an iPad.
Which is the equivalent of an iPhone.
Yeah. So one thing that I do like,
anyway.
I do like the iCloud Drive. That's been helpful because everything is accessible there. So I think on Monday they said they're enabling photos in iCloud, right?
Yeah, they're doing this thing called iCloud Photos Library or something like that.
So thank God, thank God the whole fappening thing happened.
Yeah.
Because if it hadn't, a lot of these security measures, like emailing you every time you log into iCloud. So if I go to iCloud.com and I log in, it'll email me saying, hey, you just logged into iCloud. Like that kind of alerts people like, okay, someone logged into my account. But can you imagine if these things had not happened, they hadn't put these extra security measures in, like alerting you every time someone logs into your iCloud?
Well, I'm still not keen on Apple actually storing my stuff. This is the problem that I have with Apple is that you don't really know exactly what they have in the iCloud.
Yeah.
What they're storing from your iPad, your Mac, your iPhone, what is actually in iCloud. You don't
what's
know.
in it. Yeah.
And this new iCloud photo library thing, it'll store your photos and videos in the iCloud, which you can access through iCloud.com or any Mac or iOS device.
Or browser too, I think.
But it also uses your storage space, which I think is very appalling. The fact that they only start you out at 5 gigabytes.
But wait a minute.
Yes, it's nice that they offer 20 gigabytes for $1 per month. But the fact that if you have multiple devices that you're syncing to iCloud, 5 gigabytes for initial iCloud account is just very appalling.
But John, can't I access it through the browser as well?
Yeah, through iCloud.com.
Through iCloud.com. I mean, that's kind of scary, right?
No. I mean, yeah, yes and no, but that's the way they've designed it to be.
You know what?
Is that they want it to be accessed through the cloud.
It says a lot.
It's basically kind of, they're trying to make themselves into a Dropbox competitor.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could say that Apple is any less secure or scarier than Android or Microsoft Windows, which has very similar features across the board in terms of storing and using the cloud for syncing your information.
Well, let me just say this: Google does a much better job, a much better job at authenticating and making sure that you are who you are when you access your account. If you've ever tried to access your Google account through a VPN, for example, through a proxy, it'll freak out and be like, "Hey, you're not who you are. That's not your IP address," and it'll send you an email and try to lock your account if you don't, do anything. Well, not lock, but it'll send you an email saying like, "Hey, you're not who you are."
I don't think two-factor authentication is a perfect solution whatsoever.
No, but you don't need to do it with Google. I don't necessarily say that two-factor authentication is necessary for your Google account, because the way that Google will authenticate who you are is either through your old email address, or it'll send you a text through your phone number. That's a way to authenticate.
That's semi two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
You're still using a secondary way of communicating.
But it's default, right? So for Apple, and this is something that we've constantly spoken about on the show, it is absurd on how easy it would be if I know a little bit about your life, or if I know a lot about your life, I could go in there without even accessing your email or accessing your password, reset your password, and take over your account.
That's not a problem specific to Apple.
No, it's not specific to Apple. But
you're acting like this is a problem that's specific to Apple, and it's not.
I think for someone as large as
a lot
Apple,
of people, this is what I hate, is that everybody makes this comparison about Apple not being secure and stuff, when quite frankly it's everybody that's not secure. I mean, look at how many hacks that we have every day. Almost every month now, or every other month, we're having some other major retailer or bank come out, say that they've got millions of customers whose data has been breached.
Sure, absolutely. You're absolutely right in that sense. But for a company as large as Apple, right? Like if we're comparing Google and what Facebook is doing and what Apple's doing, Apple's kind of behind in that sense. And it wouldn't hurt for them to do almost the same type of measures that Google and Facebook are doing.
But Apple does have two-factor authentication.
Yes, but the problem is, are you going to convince so-and-so to do two-factor authentication? That's the problem. That people don't understand.
But that's still a problem that is not specific to Apple.
No, it's not at all. Not at all. But I think with Facebook,
none of these problems are specific to Apple.
But do you know what Facebook is defaulting two-factor?
No.
But they do something. They do like a semi-two-factor.
I'm not sure what they do.
Yeah, I got to see, because
as far as I know, when I log in, I don't have any kind of extra authentication with mine.
So it's not the logging in. For me, it's the changing of your password.
Huh?
Remember, I'm not talking about logging into your account. I'm talking about taking control of somebody else's account.
Oh, you mean the security question?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like the security questions that Google, like the security stuff that Google does and Facebook does is much better than what Apple is doing. That's my argument. Yeah, not the two-factor. I'm not talking about that. Either way, you know what, guys?
That's debatable.
You know what? I have no problem. text me a thing from my phone, and that's how I'll refresh my information. But
so let's talk about
yeah.
Apple Pay, because
Okay,
that's
go ahead.
beginning on Monday now with the release of iOS 8.1. It'll enable all the Apple Pay stuff. It'll be available for, I guess, about a couple hundred retailers, which I don't know off the top of my head because I only know the ones that they're not going to be on.
I know they're not on Walmart.
They're not going to be on Best Buy. They're not going to be on Walmart. They're not going to be on Sears, Kmart, Pizza Hut, Chipotle, and many others that are unlikely or flat out won't support Apple Pay. Part of the reason is that, Best Buy and Walmart are actually partners in a competing payment service.
And what is that?
It's very unlikely that they will ever support Apple Pay, which I think is a big issue, that you're going to have these retailers that are giants, nationwide giants, that will never support Apple Pay.
Yeah, so who are their partners? Do you know?
I don't remember the exact name of the service that they're supporting, but it's just another one of those services that are just so puny that it's never going to have legs to stand on. It's like Walmart doing their Voodoo service.
Yeah. So do you remember?
We know what a disaster Walmart and that Voodoo service was. It's the same deal. You just don't have anybody else to actually distribute that way of doing it. You actually have to have somebody powerful enough as Apple that can put it automatically into people's hands. Let's say if they were to maybe team up with somebody like Microsoft, which would integrate it into all of their Windows Phone devices, maybe something then would come of a competing mobile payments platform. But it's very hard to get a mobile payments platform off the ground. And Apple integrating that automatically into everybody's devices is one very good and easy way to do that.
So I got a question for you. During the iPad announcement, they were talking about Apple Pay, and they were talking about how you could use Apple Pay to buy stuff on your iPad, but not like NFC. Did you hear that part? Like, it's almost like a PayPal, where you can go to your retailers. If they accept Apple Pay, like a lot of online retailers are now going to accept Apple Pay. So you could just pay with the account that you have. So they are a PayPal competitor at this point, if that's what they're doing.
Of sorts, yes.
John, what would you prefer? Would you prefer doing Apple Pay or PayPal?
It's that's hard to say because you are talking about two completely different systems still. And the main ways that people will actually use these services are completely different. Most people that use PayPal use it online only. Most people that use Apple Pay are probably going to be using it in a store. And the two of those don't necessarily compete. Yes, you can get a MasterCard, a business MasterCard with PayPal in order to use your PayPal account outside of the online world.
But most aren't doing that.
But most people aren't going to know to do that. I mean, I do that myself just because I'm familiar enough with the services that PayPal offers. But most people are not going to go through the hassle of actually getting a credit card from PayPal in order to use their PayPal account in the real world.
Honestly, I've actually stopped using my bank credit card for my business, and I just use my PayPal card now. Personally,
I like the idea of Apple Pay because of the way that it does the security for your credit card information. You're not necessarily giving your credit card information to the retailer. It's generating this one-time use code that it uses in order to make the transaction, which is a very secure way of storing your credit card information on your phone, but not actually handing it out to anybody. To me, that's very attractive, and I don't see anybody else doing that. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like initially Apple Pay is going to be something big. It could become a huge thing over the course of a year or two, but initially it's not going to be a huge success, I don't think.
Yeah. By the way, nothing special behind the technology. It's just NFC for people who, are not really up on that.
Yeah, you just basically have to have all these stores end up supporting it. And this is a problem because you have people that want to have competing standards of the way of doing this. But what you really need is one standard or one machine that'll accept multiple standards. That would accept the way that Apple does it with their iOS devices and in a way that Google does it with their Android devices. You have to have terminals that would accept both of those ways that they do. Google Wallet and Apple Pay.
Yeah.
If you only support one or the other, this is never going to take off very well.
Yeah, it's a little. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll.
But it's smart though the way that Apple's doing it, because it does those one-time use codes.
Okay, you know what's really weird, John? Really weird. Right before the show started, even the people in the chat, I got a message from Windows saying, "Hey, do you want to change the color scheme to improve performance?" Okay, that's a message I got on my Skype machine, and I was having some issues with it.
Oh, that's just because you're using high CPU.
Okay, I just got the same alert on another machine.
Yeah, because you're probably using resources on it.
I wonder if during the last Windows update they did something. It's bizarre. I've never gotten that before, especially on two devices like this.
So let's talk about all the Google news.
Yes, you run down the list.
So Google held an event earlier this week. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. They announced several new Nexus products, including the new Nexus 6, which has pre-orders beginning on October 29th. It's a 5.9-inch Quad HD screen, a more powerful Qualcomm Snapdragon 805 chipset, clocked at 2.7 gigahertz, and a hefty 3220 milliamp battery, which is going to be freaking awesome for your battery life.
Yeah, gigantic. Yeah. It's a beautiful phone.
It also has a camera with optical image stabilization, which is a huge benefit to anybody taking photos. It has a 13 megapixel sensor, which is awesome. Motorola pretty much addressed nearly every issue that it had with the Moto X, which is really freaking cool.
So the phone is beautiful. Great phone. Spec-wise, top of the line, the Snapdragon 805 chipset. It's one of the latest chipsets. Here's the issue with this, okay? And you guys tell me if I am wrong here. The Nexus 5 was $349 unsubsidized. You bought it through Google. You can still buy the Nexus 5. I believe they even updated the Nexus 5. Some things on the Nexus 5 are changed. So they have the Nexus 5 for $349. They have the Nexus 6 for $649. It's $300 more to buy this phone. Who's paying who's gonna pay $650 for this phone?
I think there's going to be a lot of people that would.
John, it is very expensive. I don't know if this is their way. Now, there's
more expensive phones out there if you're paying unsubsidized prices.
Sure, but I think this is Google's way of getting the carriers to have this phone in their lineup, because we saw with the Nexus 5, the support was kind of lacking.
Sure.
And even the prior Nexus, the support was lacking. So the fact that this thing is costing $649 unsubsidized on Google's website may hint to going to Verizon's website or AT&T's website and finding it for $299. Honestly, I don't like the pricing at all for this thing.
I'm not bothered at all by the pricing.
You know why I'm bothered by it? Because the previous one was $349. Why is this $300 more?
I can understand that, but I think part of that is because of the spec changes. I think part of it is also... I think you're partially right, but partially wrong in the sense that I don't think it's as big of an issue as you're making it out to be. Yeah, it sucks that it's $300 more, but it's also something that's more of a flagship type of phone where I don't think previous Nexus 5, I don't think it had nearly as good of a specs as we have today.
So if I were to compare my OnePlus here, it is the same exact specs. Identical. $349. 64 gig. So you know what? This is just their way of locking you down to a contract, which is fine. That's okay. If this phone is going to be readily available, better distribution than the Nexus 5, that's okay. Oh, that's what they're doing. That's how they're able to kind of keep the carriers happy.
I think if it was more than $649, I'd have an issue with it.
Have they announced
$649 and less is not a bad price for an unsubsidized phone? Period. $349 is great, but I'm not balking at $649 either for something that's unsubsidized.
Yeah, but okay. So I think buy
anything more than $649 is ludicrous, crazy expensive.
So forget about the specs. Can I go to AT&T and get this for $399 or $349?
I believe you will be able to. Let me look at my notes here real quick. Where is it? Juicy tidbits. It comes with 32 or 64 gigabytes of internal memory, cloud white, midnight blue. Pre-orders for the next kickoff. It's 29th. With a full retail launch to follow sometime in November. So you'll be able to get it in November on contract, and I think they will be offering some discounts.
Listen, if people aren't bothered by the $649, then that's fine. I just can't fathom a $300 boost in price for.
But it's unsubsidized. When you look at the actual unsubsidized cost of most of the handsets out there today, I think you're going to find that you're not going to pay much less than $649 for the majority of the phones out there, unless you're talking about a bottom-to-barrel budget device. Everything's going to be $649 or more, unsubsidized.
Yeah, sure. I just like that Google was able to break that mold and kind of offer you a flagship phone at a discounted price, and that was their way of saying, like, listen, it's kind of crazy to be locked down to a carrier for 2 years. I like that aspect of it. Now, most people, it doesn't matter to them, so I'm in the minority here. You know, if I want to buy a phone everywhere,
I think.
Yeah, if I want to get a new phone every year, there's a good chance I'm going to get an unsubsidized phone. There's no way I'm getting a subsidized phone.
Most people also have, the way most people go about this is they have multiple lines on a carrier. So even if they want to upgrade every year, they just switch back and forth between the two contracts that they have.
Yeah,
that's the way that the majority of people get around the, you can only upgrade 2 years type of issue. If you want to upgrade every single year, well, you just have two contracts. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. So $649 for the Nexus 6. It's a 6-inch display, a little big for me. I'm gonna skip this one. They also announced. Go ahead.
They also announced the Nexus 9, which will arrive early next month with Android 5.5, aka Android L, aka Lollipop. Starts at $399. It's an 8.9-inch tablet built by HTC, and the slate is going to be available, like I said, November 9th, starting at $399 for the base model of 16 gigabytes for Wi-Fi, $479 for the 32 gigabyte with Wi-Fi, and $599 for a 32 gigabyte LTE variant that comes packed with a pentaband HSPA plus quad band GSM Edge and CDMA. This is a pretty cool tablet. What do you think?
It's a very nice tablet. Really, really nice tablet.
You also get a 2 gigabyte of RAM and an 8 megapixel rear-facing camera with autofocus, and a 1.6 megapixel selfie camera on the front, dual-band Wi-Fi 802.11a, B, G, N, and AC, and a 6,700 milliamp battery.
Did you see the specs on the GPU?
No.
It's a 192 core Kepler GPU.
That's not a lot.
Yeah.
Not when you're talking about, the hardcore gaming cores out there, but I think it's a decent tablet.
No, it's a great tablet. Going to be available on Amazon, in the Google Play Store, Best Buy, GameStop. So it's actually a very, very good tablet. I'm actually
my only issue with this is that it's yet another just an evolutionary Android tablet.
Yeah.
That's nice. If you want vanilla Android tablets, Google Nexus 9 is where you go for it.
I don't know why you would buy anything else, honestly.
But when you actually compare the specs, I think, between the Nexus 9 and some of the other Android tablets out there, there's some other ones that are very nice out there. I wish I had the comparison up. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
I mean, there's the big one is Samsung, right? Samsung is the biggest one. But I would honestly opt in for this one if I were to get one.
Is this the one I was looking at?
Let's see.
All right, so we got the iPad Air 2, which is starting price of $499, and I'll actually send this to you so you can pull it up.
Okay. Do GFQ hotline.
GFQ hotline?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send it to you, and you can pull it up. And you can see it has the iPad Mini 3, Samsung Galaxy Tab S, Nexus 9, and the Kindle Fire HDX and the Microsoft Surface. And you can actually see the specs between them. You basically have three tablets on here I think that are competitive. You have the iPad Air Mini 3, which is nice. You also have the Google Nexus 9, which is decent. And then, strangely enough, the Amazon Kindle Fire HDX 8.9 is fairly competitive. If you want to look at this, look at the screen resolution between these devices. Almost all of these are 2048 by 1536 or 2560 by 1600.
Except
or
except for
a variant of that.
The Samsung Galaxy Tab S and the Kindle Fire.
The Microsoft Surface 2, it has the lowest resolution at 1920 by 1080. Well, really, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S devices and the Kindle Fire HDX 8.9 have the largest resolutions. Yeah. The Nexus 9 only has 2048 by 1536 compared with the Amazon Kindle Fire at 2560 by 1440. So if you really want that, pixels per inch, you're wanting to go with a Kindle Fire. Strangely enough.
Yeah, because I guess it's a consumption device, right? Like that's how they're selling it.
Yeah.
So the battery life has to be really good on it because people are watching content on it. Honestly, I definitely pick the Google Nexus 9 throughout this lineup if I'm getting an Android tablet. The iPad Air 2 is still king in my opinion.
Yeah.
On that lineup, I would rather opt in for that. The Surface 2, not really interested. Surface 3 is much better, but as far as knowing what I'm getting, the Google Nexus 9 is probably the one to get. So they also
it's almost sad to look at the Microsoft Surface 2 on.
I know,
here.
it's kind of pathetic on that list, huh? So pathetic looking. Why don't you go into their other announcement, John? There was one more announcement.
So Google surprised us and said that they're also announcing what they're calling the Nexus Player. It's sort of like a Chromecast, I guess, but offers more of what you would find with the Kindle Fire TV.
Or the Google, or it's the predecessor to Google TV.
Or a Roku.
Yeah.
Let me see what the specs on this are. It comes with Android L. It's basically the first Android TV device that they're putting out. It's going to have basically the same stuff that you would find on a Kindle Fire TV and a Roku. You're going to be accessing Watch ESPN, HBO Go. It's got a 1.8 gigahertz quad-core Intel Atom processor, 1 gigabyte of RAM, 8 gigabytes of storage, Power VR Series 6 graphics, and a 64-bit chip capable of console graphics. One of the interesting things to note about this is that you can actually spend $39 and get a controller, a game controller, which you see on the screen there. It comes with the remote, but you can also spend $39 more to get the game controller, which is kind of cool.
That is really cool.
They're really marketing this towards console gamers, I guess.
Yeah, they were during a thing. They were saying console, and Apple did the same thing, but they're claiming some sort of console-style graphics. Obviously, it's not going to be the current gen, but
yeah, it's you're obviously not going to get the same. Yeah. It's going to be inferior, of course, but the fact that they're marketing this heavily towards people that are into gaming is interesting.
Yeah, this is something I've been talking about for a while. How they should be doing this. I don't see the WWE Network on this list. A little disappointing.
No, but again, this is something that, it's their initial offering for this product, so it could be a while before everybody starts really hopping on. It starts out at $99, and you'll be able to get it November 3rd. You can pre-order it starting today.
Something else that I've noticed is that it does not have a pass-through like the previous Google TVs did.
I don't think you need that on most devices. Most people don't care.
Yeah. So it's really not as important as it used to be.
People like me would care, but
yeah. I'm thinking about ordering this, Sean. You think I should?
It's
just the same thing. Like they're all the same thing.
Yeah, I think when you compare the Roku to an Apple TV to whatever else is out there in this type of field, it's all basically the same thing. You're all going to be able to expect to get Netflix, Hulu, Food Network, Travel Channel, some of these basics that you'll find on every single platform, whether it be Apple TV, Kindle Fire TV, or Roku. It all kind of technically has the same stuff. Of course, being Google, you'll have extensive access to the Google Store versus with the Kindle Fire TV, they want you to do Amazon Prime Instant Video.
But do you have access to the apps? Like, what apps do you have access to?
Well, right now it's going to be Netflix, Hulu, Food Network, Travel Channel.
The partners. Those are the partners. But
there is no mention of watch ESPN or HBO Go at this point.
Yeah, but
Excuse me, I misspoke earlier.
So but I can't go into their app store and download, applications, right? Like, we can't create a GFQ app and put it on this thing.
I'm sure they're going to have some sort of SDK available for this at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to.
Should I spend $100 and buy this stupid thing?
No.
Now I want to. Now that you said no, just because you said no, now I kind of want to do this. Have they said when it's getting shipped?
It's going to be available on November 3rd.
Oh.
So I'm assuming
they're out of inventory, so you can't even get it.
At this point, I don't think it's an automatic buy, simply because it does the same thing that you can get with a Kindle Fire TV or a Roku or an Apple TV.
I've heard the Fire TV is phenomenal. People love it. So try that. Might be a good bet.
Yeah.
We're kind of running
I'm assuming, later down, maybe in the next generation, and when more people come on board to offer applications like watch ESPN or HBO Go, it'll be a little bit more attractive. But it's just one of those, initially, it's just one of those products that you don't want to get initially, I think.
Yeah. To kind of go down the list of more stuff that was announced this week, it was a busy week. HBO standalone streaming service will arrive in 2015. Now, we don't know exactly what the streaming service is going to be, but HBO chairman and CEO announced that the company would flip to the switch on a web-based streaming service next year. The over-the-top option will leverage HBO's current partners and offer access to the content without the need of a full cable package. This is something that many people have been talking about. Many people have been wanting it, and now it seems like it will happen.
Yeah, basically,
next year.
This is people for that pay only for internet.
Yeah, so it in my opinion, I think it's only going to be available with certain partners.
Because they mentioned Time Warner in this article, didn't they?
Time Warner. So Time Warner.
Yeah, this
Comcast.
Actually took place at a Time Warner investor meeting.
Yeah, but remember, Time Warner Cable and Time Warner are totally different.
True.
Yeah, separate companies. So, I'm hoping that it's full HBO. There's a good chance it won't be. There's a good chance that it'll be I don't know. I'm hoping that it is a full HBO. I don't want to speculate. We really can't speculate. But what? You don't think so? You don't think it's good? Do you think it's gonna be half-assed?
Listen, yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you look at the way everybody's doing things these days, nobody's ever going to get that cutting experience that they ultimately want, where you can watch whatever you want, wherever you want, which is what they always say on Cord Killers, which is a podcast that both Andrew and I absolutely love. But because we also have another network that's doing something similar. I don't know. Let's merge these two stories and talk about them together. I think.
Go ahead.
Because CBS also is saying that it's going to launch its TV streaming service for $6 a month. CBS All Access is what they're calling it, which charges a $6 fee a month to stream new episodes of its shows the next day after a broadcast. You'll be able to stream 15 of its primetime shows, including hits like NCIS and Big Bang Theory, as well as 6,500 episodes of classic TV from the CBS back catalog as a sweetener, which includes shows like MacGyver and I Love Lucy, whenever you want, which is really freaking cool that they're doing that, which is similar to WWE Network. And this is something else that you might actually like, is if you subscribe to CBS's All Access subscription, you also get all the live streams from Big Brother whenever Big Brother is on the air. So now, go ahead.
You're talking about the live stream that you would pay like Real Player to get.
Yes,
that's actually pretty cool. That's actually
so you also get that as a added benefit.
Yeah, $6 a month.
To me, there's a lot more details here with the CBS All Access than there is with HBO. And while there are a few caveats, which is much like any other service, here are the caveats, by the way. You won't be able to stream live TV for any NFL games on Sunday or Thursday.
Yeah, because of the local affiliates own the rights, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Second, you'll only be able to view live streams in an area you live in where CBS actually owns the local affiliate, such as New York and Los Angeles. So if you live in an area where CBS does not actually own the local affiliate, you won't be able to actually watch live TV, which I think is a major caveat.
Yeah. Okay. This was kind of their answer to Aereo, right? I mean, the CBS was really behind killing Aereo, but this, I guess, is their answer where they're like, hey, listen, we're $6 a month. Here you go. I actually think this is a pretty good service.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not totally sour on this.
Yeah. When can I get this?
I know I am, because I want, whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want. This kind of fulfills that. But, of course, you have those caveats where you can't do whatever you want, whenever you want. Here are my two big things that I really don't like about this. Is the fact that the episodes, you still only get it next day. Why can't they offer it after it airs? Or a few hours after it airs? Let's say, you're in a time zone where it airs at 9 p.m. Why can't at 10 p.m. you have access to that episode?
Yeah. Why can't you?
Why is it the next day?
I guess it's more work. I guess it'd be more
the
work.
whole live stream not being available in every single area, I think, is the other big issue.
Here's the thing: there's a 1-week free trial.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to cbs.com/all access, you can sign up for a week and use it. I don't know if it's going to require a credit card, but it gives you a week of access, so you could test drive it and see if you like it.
I will say this: if they did not offer the 6,500 episodes of classic TV from their back catalog, I don't think this service would be worth it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you get access to the back catalog, I think, makes it absolutely worth it.
I'm curious on what's in the back catalog also. I may sign up tonight to do it.
I think overall it's very much a good service. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how HBO will do theirs.
Yeah. All right, John. Wrap it up? What do you think?
Sure.
Let's wrap it up. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. If you miss any portion of the show, you can subscribe to us. We're everywhere podcasts are available. Support us, guys. You could use our Amazon link. Whenever you buy something on Amazon, we get a tiny little credit if you use our link, and it goes to upgrading the studio and fixing stuff when it breaks and buying new cameras. You can support us by clicking on the Amazon banner on top of the website and bookmarking it, or go to gfq.co/Amazon and bookmark that link. Bookmark it, and every time you buy something on Amazon, go to that link and use that. Also, if you want to support What the Tech and everything else on GFQ Network, you could do so by going to patreon.com/whatthetech. We are crowdfunding that show. We're over $560 right now. Anything else, John?
That's it.
That's it. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarin. You can follow John at Suncast, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye for now.